For centuries, we've pieced together the grand narrative of human history, a story of evolution, discovery, and the slow, arduous climb from primitive beginnings to advanced civilization. We chart our progress from stone tools to cities, from fire to the marvels of the modern age. But what if this meticulously constructed timeline is incomplete? What if the past holds secrets so profound, so utterly out of place, that they defy everything we thought we knew about our own origins? Welcome back to Mystery. Today, we delve into the realm of what some call Forbidden Archaeology, a collection of baffling discoveries, artifacts, and findings that simply do not fit. These are the anomalies that challenge accepted scientific paradigms, hinting at lost knowledge, forgotten technologies, or perhaps a human story far stranger and more ancient than any history book dares to tell. These are the clues that some believe have been deliberately overlooked, or even suppressed, because they could fundamentally rewrite the very fabric of our past. From meticulously crafted objects found in geological layers millions of years too old, to devices that suggest an understanding of physics thousands of years ahead of their time, these are the whispers from a forgotten era, demanding that we question not just what we know, but how we know it. Is it possible that sophisticated minds once roamed the earth long before our current understanding allows? That technologies we consider modern were once ancient? And if so, what happened to them, and why has their existence been relegated to the fringes of history? Our journey begins in the remote depths of South Africa, deep within the earth, where miners have been extracting pyrophyllite, a soft mineral, for decades. But among the veins of this ordinary rock, they began unearthing something extraordinary, something that on the surface appears utterly impossible: thousands of small metallic spheres. These are the Klerksdorp spheres. They range in diameter from about 1 to 4 inches, and many are distinguished by perfectly etched parallel grooves running around their equator. What makes them so perplexing is not their appearance alone, but the geological context in which they are found. These spheres are found in Precambrian pyrophyllite deposits, a rock strata dated to approximately 2.8 billion years ago. To put that into perspective, that's billions of years before dinosaurs, before complex multicellular life, and certainly before anything remotely resembling modern humans. Yet, their uncanny symmetry and the deliberate-looking grooves suggest, to some, a level of intelligent design. Mainstream geological explanations suggest that the Klerksdorp spheres are naturally occurring concretions formed through a process of mineral accumulation around a central nucleus, often a piece of organic matter or sediment. Over vast periods, groundwater rich in dissolved minerals would deposit layers, gradually building up these spherical shapes. The grooves in this view could be explained by natural processes like rhythmic precipitation or mineral crystallization within the surrounding rock matrix. However, proponents of alternative theories argue that their near-perfect sphericity and the almost machine-tooled precision of the grooves on some specimens are simply too regular to be entirely natural. How could geological forces alone create objects that appear so unnervingly perfect, often with 3 distinct, perfectly parallel lines? Some have even claimed that upon being cut open, certain spheres reveal a fibrous structure on the inside, while others have a hollow center filled with a spongy material, further adding to their anomalous nature. Could these be natural formations mimicking artificiality, a fascinating trick of geology, or are they evidence of something far more profound? Some researchers, venturing into what they call forbidden archaeology, dare to ask, are these remnants of a technological process from a time when Earth was home to beings, or entities capable of such precise craftsmanship, billions of years before humans were thought to exist? The very idea challenges the foundations of our understanding of life and intelligence on this planet. From the deep geological past, we jump forward in time, yet still find ourselves in a realm of impossible artifact. Our next enigma was pulled from the depths of the Mediterranean Sea, a device so complex, so utterly out of place, that its discovery forced scientists to reconsider the technological capabilities of the ancient world. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, discovered in 1901 by sponge divers off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, amidst the wreckage of an ancient Roman cargo ship. The mechanism initially appeared to be little more than a corroded lump of bronze, but once conservation efforts began, a jaw-dropping complexity emerged, a highly sophisticated clockwork device, composed of dozens of meshing bronze gears, dated to around 200 to 100 BCE. This incredible artifact is, in essence, an ancient analog computer. It was designed to predict astronomical positions and eclipses for calendrical and astrological purposes. Imagine nearly 2 millennia before the common adoption of complex clockwork in Europe, someone possessed the knowledge and skill to craft a device of this astonishing intricacy. Its gears could track the cycles of the sun and moon, predict lunar and solar eclipses, and even model the irregular orbit of the moon and the movements of at least 5 planets. It had dials for the Olympic Games, and a complex calendrical system. The level of precision and the mathematical understanding required to design and build such a device were unprecedented for its time, resembling technology that wouldn't reappear in Europe for another 500 years. The very existence of the Antikythera mechanism challenges our traditional view of ancient Greek technology. It suggests that Hellenistic civilization possessed an astronomical and mechanical sophistication far beyond what was previously assumed. Was this a unique masterpiece, an isolated stroke of genius, or was it merely one surviving example of a lost tradition of intricate mechanical engineering, most of which has simply been lost to time or destroyed? Mainstream historians acknowledge its extraordinary nature, but tend to view it as an outlier, a testament to the brilliance of an individual artisan like Archimedes or Hipparchus, whose works are now lost. They argue that while impressive, it doesn't necessarily indicate a widespread advanced technological base. It was a one-off marvel. Yet, proponents of alternative theories ask a more unsettling question. Could the Antikythera mechanism be a fragment of a much larger, forgotten technological legacy? A piece of advanced knowledge passed down from an earlier, highly sophisticated civilization that was lost to cataclysms or societal collapse. It's a tantalizing thought that the ancient world harbored secrets of engineering and astronomy that we are only now beginning to rediscover, locked away in corroded bronze and the forgotten depths of the sea. The notion of forgotten technology isn't limited to complex astronomical calculators. Sometimes the anomaly is far simpler in appearance, yet its implications are just as profound. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, a humble clay jar was found that has sparked decades of debate. Did people living over 2,000 years ago possess knowledge of electricity? We're talking, of course, about the Baghdad battery. Discovered in the 1930s by German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig, this unassuming artifact consists of a 5-inch tall clay jar containing a copper cylinder with an iron rod suspended in its center. Dated to the Parthian or Sassanid period, around 250 BCE to 640 CE, its structure immediately reminded Koenig of a galvanic cell, a simple battery. Koenig theorized that if an acidic liquid, like vinegar or grape juice, were poured into the jar, it would create an electrochemical reaction between the copper and iron, generating a small but measurable electric charge. Subsequent experiments with replicas in the 1970s confirmed this. A working model of the Baghdad battery could indeed produce around 1 volt of electricity. The immediate question then is why? What purpose could an ancient civilization have had for such a device? One of the most popular theories is that it was used for electroplating, applying a thin layer of gold or silver onto other metals, a process known to have been practiced in ancient times, though the method was typically mercury gilding. Some ancient artifacts have shown signs that could be consistent with electroplating, although the evidence remains far from conclusive. If true, it would suggest a rudimentary understanding of electricity for decorative or practical purposes. Other theories suggest religious or medicinal usage. Perhaps the small electric shocks generated by the battery were used in spiritual ceremonies, interpreted as divine power, or even as a primitive form of pain relief or acupuncture. Of course, skeptics argue that the Baghdad battery was simply a storage vessel, perhaps for scrolls or documents, with no electrical purpose. They point out that similar objects exist that show no signs of electrical use, and that a single vault is a weak and unreliable power source for practical application. There's no ancient text explicitly describing its use, nor direct evidence of electroplating via electricity in the region at that specific time. Yet, the undeniable fact remains: it can produce electricity, and its design is strikingly similar to modern galvanic cells. Is it a remarkable coincidence, or a tantalizing clue that our ancestors were experimenting with forces we consider far more recent discovery? The Baghdad battery, regardless of its ultimate purpose, stands as a profound, out-of-place artifact, pushing us to reconsider the forgotten capabilities of the ancient world. From the mysteries of ancient engineering, we turn to enigmatic imagery, carved not into clay or bronze, but directly into stone, presenting scenes that challenge the very timeline of life on Earth. Deep in the arid deserts of Peru, a collection of thousands of engraved stones has been stirring controversy for decades, depicting a history no one can explain. These are the Acre stones. They first came to public attention in the 1960s when Peruvian physician began collecting them. What he found was astonishing: thousands of smooth, dark stones, often with intricate carvings, depicting scenes that should not exist according to mainstream history. The carvings range from the bizarre to the impossible: humanoid figures riding creatures unmistakably resembling dinosaurs like Triceratops and Stegosaurus, incredibly detailed representations of medical procedures such as heart transplants, brain surgery, and even C-section, complete with surgical tools that resemble scalpels and forceps, and even what appear to be complex astronomical maps. The most perplexing aspect is the depiction of dinosaurs. Mainstream science tells us dinosaurs went extinct around 65 million years ago, long before humans appeared on Earth. Yet, the Acre stones seem to suggest that whoever carved them had first-hand knowledge of these prehistoric creatures, implying that humans and dinosaurs once coexisted. This is a monumental claim that, if true, would completely upend our understanding of paleontological and anthropological timelines. Cabrera himself was convinced the stones were genuine evidence of a technologically advanced ancient civilization that predated known history, a race that flourished on Earth, possessing knowledge of medicine, astronomy, and perhaps even space travel before perishing in a cataclysm. He believed the stones were their last message to the future. However, the Acre stones are shrouded in intense controversy. In the 1970s, a local farmer named Basilio Ushuaia, who was the primary source of the stones for Dr. Cabrera, publicly confessed to carving many of them himself using simple tools. He even demonstrated the process for journalists, showing how he could produce similar engravings in just a few hours. This confession led many to dismiss the entire collection as an elaborate hoax, and the Peruvian government classified the stones as forgeries. Mainstream archaeologists largely disregard them as a serious subject of study. Yet, the controversy persists. Ushuaia later retracted his confession, claiming he was forced to say it to avoid legal trouble, as Peru has strict laws against selling genuine archaeological artifacts. Furthermore, skeptics of the hoax theory point to the sheer volume of stones, tens of thousands, asking if a single farmer could have produced them all. They also note that some stones exhibit signs of extreme age and weathering patterns that appear inconsistent with recent carving. Could it be a mix? A few genuine, ancient stones depicting unknown symbols, later supplemented by modern fakes to capitalize on the demand? Or is the entire collection a modern fabrication, one of the most elaborate and persistent hoaxes in archaeological history? Without clear, verifiable archaeological excavation contexts for the majority of the stones, their true origin remains deeply divisive. The Acre stones remain one of history's most hotly debated artifacts. Whether they hold the truth about a lost chapter of history, or are simply an elaborate deception, their mystery persists, forcing us to confront uncomfortable questions about what we truly believe about the past. And sometimes the most profound questions aren't about what we find, but what we've lost, or what we might have forgotten. In the grand tapestry of human history, these out-of-place artifacts are like loose threads, fragments that don't seem to fit the pattern. But what if these threads are not errors but clues? Clues to a hidden narrative, a story of forgotten brilliance, or even a past we're only just beginning to imagine. The Acre stones, with their fantastic depictions of dinosaurs and advanced surgery, represent one end of the spectrum of forbidden archaeology, a dramatic, controversial anomaly that forces a stark choice between accepted history and radical rethinking. But not all such mysteries are so overtly sensational. Sometimes the anomaly is subtler, hidden in plain sight, or buried deep within the earth, waiting for a chance discovery to challenge our neatly organized timelines. Consider, for instance, a discovery made over a century ago in the coal mines of Oklahoma, USA. In 1912, a miner named Frank J. Kenwood was breaking apart a large lump of coal when he found something embedded within it that utterly defied explanation. A small iron pot. Now, an iron pot itself is hardly mysterious, but the coal seam from which it was extracted was estimated to be around 300 million years old, dating back to the Carboniferous period. During this era, Earth was dominated by vast swamps, giant ferns, and the earliest reptiles. It was a time when the very idea of human civilization, let alone advanced metallurgy capable of smelting iron into a pot, was inconceivable. The Oklahoma pot is a classic example of an O-part, an out-of-place artifact. Its existence within such an ancient geological context suggests two radical possibilities. Either an advanced civilization existed on Earth millions of years before our current understanding allows, or the methods we use to date geological layers are fundamentally flawed. Mainstream science, of course, overwhelmingly favors the latter, suggesting the pot was either a modern artifact that fell into a crack in the coal seam and was mistakenly thought to be embedded, or a geological anomaly in its own formation. However, the witnesses claimed it was found inside the solid lump of coal, implying it was formed with the coal itself. The lack of detailed scientific study on the original artifact, which has since been lost, means its true nature remains debated, but it's just one of many such reported anomalies. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, as mining and excavation expanded, similar reports surfaced. Intricate gold chains found in ancient rock, perfectly machined screws in coal, even a miniature doll found in solid granite. Each time, the context suggested an impossible age, defying the slow, linear progression of technology we believe occurred. These discoveries, often dismissed as hoaxes, misidentifications, or misinterpreted geological formations, persist in the annals of forbidden archaeology. They are the echoes of a possibility too uncomfortable to embrace, that intelligence, and even technology, may have risen and fallen on Earth countless times, leaving behind only these baffling, out-of-place whispers in the stone. From objects found in impossibly old rock, we now turn to a piece of evidence that suggests knowledge rather than technology, far beyond its supposed time. Our next mystery is a map drawn in the 16th century that depicts coastlines and landmasses that were supposedly unknown to European explorers at that time. This is the Piri Reis Map, compiled in 1513 by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. This world map is astounding for several reasons. It accurately depicts the coastlines of West Africa, the eastern coast of South America, and the Caribbean. What truly makes it an enigma, however, is its depiction of a landmass at the very bottom beneath South America, which some scholars believe is the coastline of Antarctica, and crucially, it shows this coastline without ice. Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1820, and its coastline was not accurately charted until the 20th century, using advanced seismic sounding equipment, as its landmass is almost entirely covered by a permanent ice sheet, several miles thick. So how could a 16th century map possibly depict it, let alone depict it without ice? Piri Reis himself stated on the map that he compiled it from various source materials, including older maps and charts, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. This explanation only deepens the mystery. If the map's source data was ancient, it implies that someone, thousands of years ago, had the ability to map the world with incredible accuracy, including regions that would only be explored centuries later, and in a climate vastly different from today's. Mainstream explanations for the Piri Reis map's Antarctic section vary. Some suggest it's not Antarctica at all, but simply the imagined coast of Terra Australis Incognita, a hypothetical southern continent, common in early cartography. Others propose it might be a distorted representation of the South American coast that merely resembles Antarctica. The ice-free aspect is often dismissed as either misinterpretation or a speculative projection. However, proponents of the Forbidden Archaeology viewpoint to the remarkable accuracy of other parts of the map and argue that the detailed bays, islands and river mouths on the alleged Antarctic section are too specific to be mere guesswork. They speculate that the ancient source maps must have originated from a civilization with a global reach and advanced navigational and cartographic skills, capable of sailing to and surveying the frozen continent when it was not covered by ice, a period that ended millions of years ago. Could the Piri Reis Map be a surviving fragment of a much older, lost global civilization, one that possessed the technology to chart the world and the knowledge to remember a time when Antarctica was green? It's a concept that challenges the very foundation of our historical understanding, suggesting a forgotten golden age of exploration and scientific prowess. The map remains a powerful testament to the enduring mystery of ancient knowledge, a silent witness to a past we may still be struggling to comprehend. Beyond maps and curious metal objects, some of the most unsettling anomalies come in the form of direct, visual evidence, carvings and artwork that simply shouldn't exist, depicting scenes or technologies that defy the known capabilities of their creators. This brings us back to the Inca stones of Peru, but also leads us to other controversial examples found in ancient art. As we discussed, the Inca stones, with their perplexing images of humans interacting with dinosaurs and performing advanced medical procedures, are a prime example. While their authenticity is heavily debated, the idea they represent, that ancient cultures possessed knowledge of the deep past or advanced science, resonates with other less controversial, but still baffling ancient depictions. Consider the famous Abydos hieroglyphs in Egypt. Located in the Temple of Seti Deferred at Abydos, a series of eroded carvings have been interpreted by some as depictions of modern vehicles, a helicopter, a submarine, a tank, and even an airplane. Mainstream Egyptologists explain these as a pareidolia, where the mind perceives familiar patterns in random shapes, or more specifically, as palimpsests, earlier carvings that were overwritten by later ones, and whose combined eroded forms create the illusion of modern technology. They argue that the shapes are accidental, a product of overlapping hieroglyphs over time. However, proponents of alternative theories maintain that the precision of these apparent modern machines is too striking to be coincidental. Could these be an acknowledgement, a record, or even a prophecy of future technologies from a civilization whose true understanding extended far beyond our conventional history? These visual anomalies, whether the detailed carvings on the Inca stones or the controversial helicopter glyphs at Abydos, force us to confront the uncomfortable possibility that ancient peoples knew things, saw things, or even created things that challenge our linear progression of knowledge. Are they simply misinterpretations, or are they subtle clues, left like breadcrumbs, pointing to a past that was far more technologically or scientifically advanced than we dare to imagine? A past that was ultimately lost, perhaps leaving behind only these perplexing images as their silent, enduring legacy. These out-of-place artifacts and forgotten technologies are not isolated incidents. They form a pattern, a compelling series of anomalies that, when taken together, begin to paint a picture of a past far richer, stranger, and more complex than most history books describe. They hint at a world where knowledge wasn't just gained, but lost, where civilizations may have risen and fallen. The anomalies we've explored so far, from impossibly old artifacts to advanced devices and enigmatic maps, challenge our understanding of ancient human ingenuity and knowledge. But what if the very nature of humanity itself, in the distant past, was different? What if ancient legends of giants, dismissed as mere myth, hold a grain of truth? This is a realm of forbidden archaeology, so controversial that it's often outright ridiculed, yet the persistent claims continue to whisper from the shadows of history. Across almost every culture and civilization on Earth, from the Sumerian and Babylonian epics to the biblical accounts of the Nephilim, from Native American oral traditions to the legends of Norse mythology, there are stories of gigantic humanoids, beings of immense stature, often possessing supernatural strength or wisdom, who walked the earth in a forgotten age. Mainstream science attributes these tales to folklore, allegory, or exaggerated accounts of tall people. But what if there's more to it? The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a peculiar surge in reports of abnormally large human skeletons being unearthed across North America, particularly in the Ohio Valley. Newspaper accounts from the era frequently described discoveries of human remains ranging from 7 to over 12 feet tall, often found buried with strange artifacts or in unusual burial mounds. One of the most infamous examples, though heavily disputed and often dismissed as sensationalism, was reported in 1892. An article described the discovery of a burial mound near Crittenden, Kentucky, containing the skeletons of giants, one purportedly measuring 10 feet 9 inches in length. Other reports mentioned skeletons with double rows of teeth, or skulls with strange protuberances, adding to the bizarre nature of these claims. The problem is, almost none of these alleged giant skeletons have ever been subjected to rigorous scientific scrutiny by mainstream institutions, or they have simply vanished. Critics argue that these reports were either hoaxes, common in the era of sensationalist journalism, or misinterpretations of animal bones, or even standard human bones that were exaggerated by excited finders. Yet the sheer volume and geographical spread of these reports, all occurring independently, gives pause to some researchers. Why such a consistent pattern of giant discoveries across a continent, if all were simply hoaxes or mistakes? And what happened to the physical evidence? Many conspiracy theories suggest a deliberate cover-up by institutions like the Smithsonian Institution, collecting and then concealing these anomalous finds to protect established historical narratives. While there's no conclusive proof of such a conspiracy, the disappearance of so many reported giant remains a point of contention for those who believe these anomalies represent a hidden chapter in human history. Beyond just height, another form of anomalous human remains has fueled intense debate: those with elongated skulls. Found in various locations around the world from Peru to Malta, these skulls exhibit a dramatic, unnatural elongation that some attribute to intentional head binding, a practice known in certain ancient cultures. However, certain skulls, particularly those found in Paracas, Peru, exhibit characteristics that challenge the head binding explanation. These skulls are significantly larger and heavier than normal human skulls, and critically, they often show anatomical differences in the skull plate count and the size of the foramen magnum, the hole at the base of the skull where the spinal cord connects, that are not consistent with artificial deformation. Mainstream anthropologists contend that even these extreme cases can be explained by head binding, which, if applied from birth and maintained, can drastically reshape the skull without altering its volume or basic anatomical structure. They argue that studies have shown that no matter how much external pressure is applied, the actual bone count and key features remain consistent with Homo sapiens. But researchers like Brian Furster, who has extensively studied the Paracas skulls, and others, point to DNA analysis which, in some preliminary studies, has suggested genetic markers distinct from known indigenous populations. They argue that these skulls may represent a separate, perhaps even non-human lineage that once inhabited the Earth, or a unique variant of humanity that defies our current understanding of evolution. The implications are staggering. If these skulls are not merely products of cultural practice, but evidence of a distinct, large-brained hominid, or even a different species, it would fundamentally rewrite the story of human evolution. The debate remains fiercely contested, with scientific skepticism arrayed against the tantalizing possibility of a forgotten branch on the tree of life. These various pieces of forbidden archaeology, the impossible objects in ancient rock, the maps of unknown land, the depictions of anachronistic technology, and the controversial evidence of ancient giants, or distinct human lineages, they all converge on a singular profound question: what if our understanding of the past is not just incomplete, but fundamentally flawed? If isolated artifacts and anomalous bones strain our understanding of history, then certain monumental structures outright shatter it. Across the globe, from the Middle East to South America, lie colossal stone constructions, whose sheer scale, precision, and the methods by which they were built remain an enduring enigma. These are the megalithic mysteries, and they speak of an ancient knowledge we struggle to comprehend. Nowhere is this more apparent than at Baalbek in Lebanon, This ancient Roman temple complex stands upon a platform of truly colossal stones. Among them is the famous Trilithon, 3 massive blocks, each weighing an estimated 800 tons, meticulously placed in the foundation. Nearby in the quarry lies the stone of the pregnant woman, or Hajar al-Hibla, an even larger unfinished megalith, weighing over 1,000 tons. Mainstream archaeology attributes these massive stones to Roman ingenuity, suggesting they were moved using systems of levers, rollers, ramps, and enormous teams of human and animal labor. This explanation, while theoretically possible for smaller blocks, strains credulity when applied to a 1,000-ton stone, especially considering the precision with which many of these blocks were cut and fitted. Critics of the mainstream view argue that the sheer logistics, the number of men, the strength of the ropes, the stability of the ramps, for such immense weights, especially over uneven terrain, simply defy practical ancient capability. They point to the precision of the cuts and the tight fit of the Trilithon, suggesting a level of engineering far beyond what we typically ascribe to the Roman era. Some theories even propose the use of lost acoustic levitation techniques, or advanced, forgotten machines. And Baalbek is not alone. In Peru, at sites like Sacsayhuaman, near Cusco, we find incredible examples of polygonal masonry. Massive, irregularly shaped stones, some weighing hundreds of tons, are cut and fitted together with such astonishing precision that not even a knife blade can be inserted between them. This was achieved without mortar, creating structures that have withstood centuries of earthquakes. The logistical challenge here isn't just weight, it's the meticulous shaping of each unique stone to fit its neighbors perfectly, often with dozens of complex angles across vast walls. How were these complex cuts made? How were these irregular multi-ton blocks then lifted and positioned with such incredible accuracy? The accepted explanation involves pounding stones with other stones and a slow, arduous process of grinding and shaping. But the results seem to defy such primitive methods. Proponents of alternative theories suggest the use of unknown tools, perhaps a method of stone softening, or even advanced energy-based cutting technique. These sites whisper of a time when the capabilities of ancient builders far exceeded what we consider possible for their era, leaving behind a profound question. Are these monuments the work of forgotten human genius, or do they hint at something far more profound? The mysteries aren't always above ground. Sometimes the most perplexing engineering is hidden beneath the earth, defying our understanding of subterranean construction. One such site is the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni in Malta, a vast, multi-level underground necropolis and temple carved directly into the limestone bedrock. Dating back to between 300–600 and 2500 BCE, this sprawling complex includes halls, chambers, and passages, spanning 3 distinct levels, reaching over 30 feet below ground. Its acoustic properties are particularly baffling. Certain chambers, like the Oracle Room, possess incredible resonant qualities, amplifying male voices to an almost hypnotic degree. The precision with which these chambers were carved out of solid rock, using only flint, obsidian, or possibly even harder unknown tools, is astounding. The surfaces are incredibly smooth, and the architectural features, such as false windows and door frames, mimic above-ground structures, all crafted underground with no natural light. This level of subterranean excavation and acoustic engineering was seemingly unparalleled for its time. While mainstream archaeology attributes the Hypogeum's creation to the skilled stonework of Malta's prehistoric temple builders, the sheer scale, precision, and acoustic mastery without advanced tools remain a source of wonder. Critics of conventional explanations often point to the impossible nature of the carving, given the hardness of the rock and the lack of metal tools. Could these be relics of a lost acoustic science, perhaps even a knowledge of resonant frequencies that could have aided in shaping stone, or simply a testament to a patient, organized, and technologically adept society that we still profoundly underestimate? The Hypogeum serves as a silent, underground monument to forgotten capabilities, challenging us to look deeper into the earth for answers to our ancient past. As we examine these impossible stones and enigmatic underground complexes, the line between what is known and what is believed begins to blur. These structures are not just static monuments, they are profound questions etched into the very fabric of our planet, asking us to consider a past that is far more complex, and perhaps far more technologically advanced, than we've ever dared to imagine. And sometimes the answers might lie not in what we find, but in what was deliberately hidden.
Our established historical narrative often presents civilization as a relatively recent phenomenon, flourishing and fertile river valleys. But what if entire cities, even cultures, rose and fell in places we now consider utterly inhospitable, or in geological periods that defy our timelines? The Earth itself holds secrets of lost worlds, swallowed by changing climates, or hidden beneath the sands of time. Consider the notion of a green Sahara. Today, the Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert in the world, an immense arid expanse, yet scientific evidence, including sediment analysis, fossil discoveries, and ancient rock art, confirms that between approximately 10,000 and 5,000 years ago, this vast region was a lush, fertile grassland. It was crisscrossed by rivers, dotted with lakes, and capable of supporting a rich diversity of life, including elephants, giraffes, and hippos, and thriving human populations. This African humid period saw the development of sophisticated pastoralist societies in areas now completely uninhabitable. Sites like Nabta Playa in southern Egypt, dating back as far as 7,500 BCE, reveal highly organized communities with evidence of cattle domestication and even advanced astronomical observatories, a stone calendar circle that predates Stonehenge by millennia. This isn't just about survival, it's about a complex, culturally rich society thriving in what is now absolute desert. The existence of these lost green Sahara civilizations forces us to confront a significant gap in our understanding. How much knowledge, how many societal achievements were simply consumed by the encroaching desert, leaving only faint echoes in the sand? What kind of technologies or adaptations did these people possess to flourish in an environment that underwent such a dramatic transformation? And what else might be buried beneath countless feet of sand, waiting to be rediscovered by technologies like ground-penetrating radar? The very idea of lost cities, swallowed by the desert, hints at a fragility to civilization itself, and the potential for entire epochs of human history to simply vanish, leaving behind only the most resilient anomalies. But some anomalies hint not just at lost knowledge, but at a profound, almost mystical connection to the cosmos, perhaps even ancient visitors from beyond Earth. While deeply speculative, the sheer persistence of certain themes in ancient art and belief systems, when coupled with unexplained artifacts, opens the door to truly forbidden questions. We've touched on the Ica stones and their unusual depiction, but across the globe, other artifacts and cave paintings contain imagery that has led some to propose paleo-contact theory, or the idea that ancient humans were visited by extraterrestrial beings. These are not mainstream archaeological views, but they form a compelling narrative within forbidden archaeology. Consider the Sumerian cylinder seals and tablets, which describe beings called the Anunnaki, sometimes interpreted by alternative theorists as extraterrestrial beings who guided early human civilization. While mainstream scholars translate these as mythical deities, proponents like Zachariah Sitchin controversially argued that they were real beings from a planet called Nibiru, providing advanced knowledge to ancient humanity. Or the Dogon tribe of Mali, whose traditional cosmology includes incredibly precise knowledge of the Sirius star system, including details about Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye, and its 50-year orbital period, knowledge that was supposedly only confirmed by modern astronomy in the 20s. How did an isolated African tribe possess such advanced astronomical information without modern technology? Mainstream anthropologists explain this as cultural diffusion, or potentially a misinterpretation of their oral tradition. For some, this suggests a direct transfer of knowledge from an unknown, advanced source, perhaps even non-human. These theories push the boundaries of conventional thought to their absolute limits, proposing a radical reinterpretation of our origin. They ask, if our ancestors built impossibly precise structures, possessed forgotten technologies, and lived in landscapes now barren, could there be a deeper, more profound connection to the cosmos, to visitors who shared a glimpse of forbidden knowledge? While these ideas remain on the fringes of academic acceptance, they persist because they offer a powerful, if unsettling, explanation for the vast gaps and anomalies in our historical record. They remind us that the human story might be far more complex, and far less linear than we currently understand. And perhaps the biggest mysteries are not just about what we discover, but what we've been told to forget.
As we've journeyed through the realm of forbidden archaeology, we've encountered a series of astonishing anomalies, objects from impossibly distant pasts, maps that chart unseen continents, architectural marvels built with unexplainable precision, and even suggestions of human forms that defy our current understanding of evolution. Each piece, on its own, is a curiosity, but when viewed collectively, they begin to paint a picture of a past far more complex and far less understood than the textbooks typically describe. This isn't about dismissing established science entirely, but rather about acknowledging the persistent questions that continue to echo from the distant past. It's about the uncomfortable truths that linger at the edges of our historical understanding, hinting at forgotten technologies, lost civilizations, or perhaps cycles of rise and fall far grander than we currently admit. The very concept of forbidden archaeology suggests that some discoveries are so disruptive to our accepted paradigms that they are either ignored, dismissed, or actively suppressed. Whether this is a conscious effort by institutions to maintain order, or simply the natural human tendency to reject information that doesn't fit existing frameworks, the effect is the same. A vast and compelling portion of our human story remains largely unexamined. What would it mean if the Klerksdorp spheres genuinely date back billions of years, implying intelligence on Earth long before life itself was thought to be complex? What if the Antikythera Mechanism is not a unique genius invention, but a surviving fragment of a widespread ancient technological prowess that was tragically lost? What if the Piri Reis Map truly reveals an ancient global cartography that predates our explorers by millennia, showing continents now hidden by our... And what of the unsettling evidence of ancient giants, or distinct human lineages, the precise megalithic constructions defying primitive tools, or the ancient art depicting scenes that shatter our timelines? These are not mere curiosities for the fringe. They are the profound unanswered questions that demand our attention, because they have the potential to rewrite the very first chapter of our human story. The search for answers continues, fueled by passionate researchers, independent archaeologists, and countless curious minds who refuse to accept that all the great mysteries have been solved. For the true story of humanity, our achievements, our struggles, and our forgotten past may be far more awe-inspiring and far more complex than we have ever dared to imagine. Are these anomalies simply misinterpretations, or do they hint at a hidden history waiting to be fully uncovered? Share your theories in the comments below. If this dive into the uncharted depths of our past has sparked your curiosity, make sure to like this video, share it with fellow truth seekers, and most importantly, subscribe us for more journeys into the unexplained. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next revelation. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the ancient mysteries alive. Stay curious.